The rain hammered the roof of the old Brooklyn Community Center like it was trying to punch through, and in that instant, I saw Malik's eyes, those deep brown pools that had pulled me under 100 times, lock onto mine across the crowded gym floor, filled with a desperation that mirrored my own breaking heart. "Ezekiel, don't do this," he whispered, his voice cutting through the storm's roar outside. But it was too late. The words I'd held back for years tumbled out like lightning. "You promised me forever, but forever's just another lie you told to keep me quiet." And just like that, the world we'd built in stolen moments shattered, leaving us both exposed, raw, and utterly alone in the chaos we'd created. That storm in late October 2024 wasn't just weather. It was the unraveling of everything I thought I knew about love, loyalty, and the man who'd wired his way into my soul. I'm Ezekiel Hayes, 28 years old, a history teacher at the Frederick Douglass Community Center in Bed-Stuy, the kind of place where dreams go to get patched up and sent back into the world a little less broken. The center's been my anchor since I moved to New York 5 years ago, fleeing the suffocating Bible Belt grip of my upbringing in rural Georgia. Back there, being gay wasn't just a sin. It was a secret you buried so deep it poisoned your bones. Here, in the city that never sleeps but always judges, I thought I could breathe. I thought I could build something real. It started innocently enough, or at least that's how I tell it to myself on the bad nights. The gym at the center had been on the fritz for months. Lights buzzing like angry hornets, outlets sparking like faulty firecrackers. The kids in my after-school program, a ragtag crew of teens navigating everything from algebra to their first heartbreaks, deserved better than dodging electrical tape just to shoot hoops. So, when the board finally coughed up the budget for repairs, they called in Malik Washington, the electrician who'd come highly recommended from a sister center in Harlem. I was there that first day, clipboard in hand, pretending to oversee things while stealing glances at the crew like some undercover cop in a bad procedural. Malik rolled up in a beat-up Ford F-150, toolbox clanging in the bed, his work boots hitting the asphalt with the confidence of someone who knew exactly how to fix what was fried. He was 29, built like he spent his off days lifting more than just wire spools. Broad shoulders under a faded Yankees hoodie, skin the color of polished mahogany, and a fade haircut that somehow made his smile look even sharper. When he shook my hand, his grip was firm but warm, calluses rough against my palm, and he said, "Ezekiel, right? Heard you're the one keeping these kids from turning into delinquents. Noble work." His voice had that low rumble, like distant thunder over the Hudson, laced with a Queen's accent that turned every vowel into an invitation. I laughed it off, mumbling something about just doing my job, but from that moment, the air in the gym felt charged. Over the next week, as Malik and his team tore into the wiring, crawling under the bleachers, scaling ladders to the rafters, I found excuses to linger. Just checking on progress, I'd say. But really, I was memorizing the way sweat beaded on his neck, or how he'd hum old Motown tunes while stripping copper. The kids loved him too. He'd high-five them after demos, turning safety lectures into stories about the time he fixed a blackout during a block party in Crown Heights. One afternoon, as the sun slanted through the high windows, casting golden bars across the scuffed hardwood, the electrician checked the gym wiring, said, "It's a tight fit," and made everyone burst out laughing. It was innocent, a joke about squeezing the new conduits into the ancient walls, but the way his eyes flicked to mine, holding just a beat too long, sent a spark straight to my chest. The crew howled, one guy slapping his knee, but I felt it like a secret code, a nod to the unspoken tension humming between us. By the end of the job, the gym glowed like new, LEDs humming steady, outlets purring without protest. Malik signed off on the invoice with a flourish, but instead of bolting, he hung back, wiping his hands on a rag as the others packed up. "Hey, Zeke, mind if I call you that? You got plans tonight? There's this spot in Williamsburg, little jazz hole called the Blue Note Echo. Nothing fancy, but the sax player's a beast." My heart jackhammered. I dated here and there, quick coffees that fizzled into ghosting, hookups that left me emptier than before, but this felt different. Dangerous. Real. I said yes because what else was there? We met at the bar that night, the air thick with cigarette haze and the wail of a tenor sax that cut right to the bone. Malik ordered us whiskeys neat like he was no frills, and we talked for hours about his mom, a nurse who'd raised him solo after his dad split for Atlanta. about my escape from Georgia, the church sermons that branded me with shame before I even knew what desire felt like. He leaned in close over the scarred oak table, his knee brushing mine under it, and confessed. I grew up thinking love like ours was for storybooks, not South Jamaica, Queens. But seeing you with those kids makes me believe in second chances. When he kissed me outside, under the sodium glow of a street lamp, it wasn't fireworks. It was a slow burn, his lips tasting of bourbon and possibility, his hands framing my face like I was something fragile and worth saving. From there, it snowballed. Stolen weekends turned into our rhythm. Mornings tangled in his cramped walk-up off Myrtle Avenue, where the sheets smelled of him, sawdust and sandalwood. Afternoons walking the promenade by the East River, hands brushing until we couldn't stand it anymore and laced fingers under the cover of crowds. Malik was my opposite and my mirror. Fiercely out to his crew, the guy who'd march in pride with a rainbow tool belt, but gentle in ways that undid me, like when he'd traced the scars on my knuckles from a childhood of suppressed rage and whisper, "You're safe here, Zeke. With me." We built a world in the margins. Picnics in Prospect Park with bodega sandwiches, late-night drives to Coney Island where he'd dare me to ride the cyclone just to hear me laugh, unfiltered and free. But love in America, especially for two black men navigating the city's undercurrents, isn't a straight shot. Whispers started at the center, colleagues side-eyeing my glow, kids giggling about Mr. Hayes' mystery friend. I brushed it off, but Malik pushed for more. "Come to my sister's barbecue next weekend," he'd say, his eyes pleading. "Let them see us, Zeke. Let the world." I wanted to God, I did, but the ghosts of Georgia clung tight. The pastor's voice thundering damnation, my mother's tears when I came out at 22 and she whispered, "You're breaking my heart, son." Visibility felt like a ledge, and I wasn't ready to jump. The first crack came in early December, during a holiday fundraiser at the center. The gym, freshly wired, was decked in twinkling lights. Ironic, given the sparks flying elsewhere. Malik showed up as a volunteer, hauling tables and charming donors with his easy grin. We stole moments in the storage room, his back against the stacked mats, my hands in his hair, breaths mingling hot and hurried. But as we emerged, flushed and laughing, I caught Principal Harlan's stare. Our boss, a silver-haired veteran with a reputation for traditional values. His lips pursed like he'd swallowed vinegar. Later that night, over takeout lo mein in my apartment, Malik confronted me. "Zeke, what's eating you?" "Harlan's just a busybody." I paced the threadbare rug, the city lights blurring through the rain-streaked window. "It's not just him. It's everything. If word gets out, the board could cut funding, parents pull kids. I can't risk that. For them, for us." His face hardened, that thunder in his eyes flashing. "Us? Or just your fears? I'm tired of hiding, Ezekiel. Tired of being your midnight secret." The words landed like a gut punch. We didn't speak for 3 days. The silence a chasm widening with every unanswered text. He came back, of course. Showed up at the center with coffee and an apology scrawled on a napkin. "I'm all in if you're brave enough." We patched it, deeper this time, with promises whispered in the dark. But betrayal brews in the shadows, and Harlan had been watching closer than I knew. January brought a brutal cold snap, the kind that turns Brooklyn into a concrete freezer, and with it, the real storm. The center's winter program was booming, tutoring sessions packed, the gym alive with youth basketball leagues where kids like Jamal, a wiry 15-year-old with dreams of varsity glory, finally had lights that didn't quit mid-dribble. I threw myself into it, grading papers by the flicker of my desk lamp, ignoring the ache in my chest from those 3 days without Malik. We'd reconciled in a diner off Flatbush, over greasy eggs and bottomless coffee, his hand covering mine across the formica. "I get it, Zeke," he'd said, voice soft as fresh snow. "Your world's fragile. But mine, it's got room for both of us, cracks and all." We emerged stronger, or so I believed. Nights blurred into mornings where he'd wake me with kisses that tasted like forgiveness. Days where we'd text dumb memes about faulty fuses to keep the spark alive. "Ezekiel, son, we've got a problem." He slid a manila folder across, photos spilling out like accusations. Grainy shots of Malik and me at the river, hands linked. A blurry one from the holiday party, emerging from storage with rumpled shirts. My stomach dropped, the room tilting. "Anonymous tip," he continued, voice oily with false concern. Parents are worried. Standards, you know? This center's a beacon for these kids. Can't have distractions. Distractions. The word clawed at me, echoing every slur I'd swallowed in Georgia. I gripped the armrests, knuckles whitening. This is my life, Harlan. Private. And Malik, he's good for this place. Fixed the gym, volunteers his time. He leaned forward, eyes narrowing. Good intentions pave hell, boy. I've seen it. You think I don't know loss? My Tommy. He was like you too back in the day. Thought love conquered all. Didn't. It destroyed him. The confession hung there, raw and unintended. But he bulldozed on. Resign quietly or the board sees these. Funding dries up, programs fold. Those kids you love? Back to the streets. Betrayal hit like frostbite. Not just the threat, but the hypocrisy, his pain weaponized against mine. I left that office numb, the photos burning in my pocket like contraband. I didn't tell Malik. Not yet. Instead, I pulled back, canceled dates with excuses about deadlines, dodged his calls with texts about crazy days at work. He sensed it, of course. Showed up at my door one night with pizza and that damn smile. But I kept the door half closed, words spilling out in a rush. Just stressed, babe. Harlan's on a tear about metrics. He searched my face, thumb brushing my jaw. Liar. Talk to me, Zeke. But I couldn't. Fear glued my tongue, the what-if's a whirlwind. Losing the center, the kids, him in the fallout. So I lied again, pulling him inside for a night that felt like goodbye. His body a map I traced desperately, memorizing every curve before the map burned. The climax crashed in mid-February, Valentine's week, when the city pulsed with red hearts and hollow promises. The center hosted a Love in the Community gala, irony sharp as a switchblade, a black tie fundraiser in the gym, transformed with string lights and folding tables groaning under soul food spreads. Malik and I had planned to go together, semi-public. Arms linked, chins up, a quiet declaration. But Harlan's shadow loomed, and I'd been dodging, my silence a wall he couldn't breach. That morning, as I knotted my tie in the mirror, charcoal suit hugging my frame, a far cry from the hoodies I hid in, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Check your email. For the kids' sake. Attached was a PDF. My resignation letter, drafted by Harlan, laced with veiled threats about moral clauses. Panic surged, hot and metallic. I forwarded it to Malik, no preamble, just we need to talk. Now. He met me in the gym's alcove, amid stacked chairs and the faint echo of last night's drills. His own suit rumpled like he'd slept in it. What the hell, Zeke? You've been a ghost. And this? He waved his phone, face storming. I spilled it all. The photos, the ultimatum, Harlan's poisoned grief. Words tumbling like an avalanche. Malik's jaw clenched, eyes blazing. That bastard. We're going public. Tonight. At the gala. Let them choke on it. No. I shot back, voice cracking. You don't get it. This isn't Queen's bravado. It's my lifeline. The center's all I've got. He stepped closer, hands on my shoulders, grounding me. We've got each other. That's the lifeline. But doubt gnawed visions of empty classrooms. Jamal's face falling as the league folded. The argument escalated. Whispers turning to hisses. You're choosing fear over us.
I'm choosing survival.
In the heat, I lashed out. Maybe you're the distraction. Maybe I was better off buried. The words were a knife, self-inflicted, but they sliced him deep. He recoiled, hurt flickering raw. If that's how you see it, then yeah. Maybe we were never wired right. He walked out, the gym door slamming like thunder, leaving me adrift in the half-light. The gala that night was a blur. Smiles plastered on. Small talk with donors about empowering youth. While Harlan hovered, smug in his tweed. I scanned for Malik, heart a traitor pounding hope, but he never came. By midnight, as confetti swirled and laughter echoed, I slipped out to the parking lot. The February rain a relentless sheet, soaking my suit to the bone. That's when I saw him. Leaning against his truck, shoulders hunched, the tool belt slung forgotten in the bed. Relief warred with regret. I crossed the asphalt, puddles splashing my cuffs, and stopped short, the letter I'd printed. My drafted resignation, now a confession of love. clutched in my fist. Malik, I choked, rain blurring my vision. He turned, eyes red-rimmed, and the dam broke. Elite, you're not a distraction. You're the current keeping me alive. But Harlan, he's got leverage. If I fight, we lose everything. His face crumpled, the strong lines softening into anguish. Then fight with me, or let me go. Thunder cracked, illuminating us in stark white. Two men, drenched and defiant. The city an indifferent witness. I stepped closer, the letter crumpling in my grip. I can't let you go. Not without trying. Our hands met, tentative, then sure. And in that grip, the storm shifted, not ending but bending toward something unbreakable. The weeks that followed were a gauntlet, the kind that tests if love's just a spark or a sustaining flame. Harlan's threat hung like a noose, but Malik and I refused to dangle. We strategized in hushed tones over burner phones. His idea, paranoid but practical, plotting like underground operatives in some pulpy noir. Document everything, he urged, his voice steady as he paced my living room, the skyline glittering mockingly beyond the blinds. I scanned the photos, time-stamped Harlan's emails, even recorded a casual chat where he slipped, admitting the blackmail. Malik reached out to his network. A pro bono lawyer from the Lambda legal hotline, a journalist buddy at the Village Voice who'd cut her teeth on queer rights exposés. This ain't just our fight, Zeke, he'd say, pulling me close after strategy sessions, his heartbeat a metronome against mine. It's for every kid in that gym who needs to see heroes who don't hide. The center buzzed with oblivious energy, Valentine's crafts giving way to Black History Month assemblies, where I'd lead discussions on Bayard Rustin, the gay architect of the March on Washington, his invisibility a mirror to my own. The kids picked up on my distraction. Sweet-natured Aisha, 14 and wise beyond her braids, cornered me after class. Mr. Hayes, you look like you swallowed a storm cloud. Everything okay? I ruffled her hair, forcing a grin. Just adulting, kiddo. Remember Rustin? He faced worse and kept marching. Her nod was solemn, a reminder that this war wasn't abstract. It was for them, the dreamers dodging potholes in a system rigged to trip them. Harlan escalated, of course. Whispers turned to warnings. A memo circulated about professional conduct, eyes lingering too long on me during staff meetings. One evening, as I locked up the gym, Malik's handiwork still gleaming under the fluorescence, he cornered me by the bleachers. Seen the error of your ways yet, Ezekiel? His breath reeked of mince masking scotch, face gaunt in the shadows. I straightened, channeling every ounce of Rustin's steel. Seen yours, Harlan? Blackmail's a crime, not a clause. He blanched but rallied. Tommy died because of men like you, parading sin, dragging good people down. Grief cracked his voice, and for a heartbeat, pity flickered. But pity doesn't pardon poison. Tommy deserved better than your hate, I said quietly. And so do I. He stormed out, but the seed was planted, his armor dented. The climax hit on a blustery March evening, the Ides bearing down like Shakespearean fate. We'd gathered allies. The lawyer, Ms. Rivera, sharp as a stiletto in her pantsuit. The journalist, Lena, notebook at the ready. Even a few board members I'd quietly looped in, folks who'd marched with Rustin themselves. The confrontation unfolded in Harlan's office, rain lashing the panes like applause for our audacity. Malik stood at my shoulder, his presence a force field, tool-calloused hand brushing mine in silent vow. Harlan entered last, face ashen when he saw the lineup. What's this? Intervention hour. Accountability, Ms. Rivera corrected, sliding the dossier across his desk. Emails, recordings, the works. Lena's pen scratched like judgment. Harlan sputtered, collapsing into his chair, the weight of decades sloughing off in a torrent. I couldn't save him. Thought keeping things pure would honor his memory. But it twisted me. Tears tracked his cheeks, not crocodile but cathartic. And in that vulnerability, the room softened. No gloating, just truth, raw and human. The board suspended him pending review. Full pension if he stepped down quietly, counseling included. For Tommy, I added, surprising myself, find peace, Harlan. We all need it. The aftermath was a quiet revolution. The story broke in the voice. Community hero fights blackmail, saves youth haven. Donors flooded in. Parents rallied with petitions of support. Malik and I went public fully, no more shadows. We walked into the next assembly hand in hand, introducing him as my partner, the guy who fixed more than lights. The kids erupted. High fives, hugs, Aisha whispering, "Knew you had it in you, Mr. Hayes." Jamal even dedicated a game-winning three-pointer to the real MVPs. Spring thawed Brooklyn into bloom, cherry blossoms dusting the pavements like confetti from our victory parade. Malik and I settled into a rhythm less frantic, more rooted. Mornings with coffee on his fire escape, watching the sun gild the brownstones. Evenings coaching pickup games, his laughter booming as kids mobbed him for tips. We talked futures, not grand escapes, but grounded ones. Maybe fostering a teen someday, or expanding the center's queer youth program. Betrayal had scarred us, but scars toughen, remind you of the mend. One night in May, as fireflies danced over the East River, rare magic in the concrete jungle, we sat on a bench, his head on my shoulder, the city humming its indifferent symphony. "Think we made it?" he murmured, fingers tracing mine. I tilted his chin, kissing him slow, the world fading to just us. We didn't just make it, Malik. We rewired it. Love, it turns out, isn't a straight current. It surges and shorts, fixes and failures. But in the American mosaic, cracked and colorful, two men like us, we light up the dark just fine. And in the end, that's the humanism of it. Not perfection, but persistence. Not erasure, but embrace. We kept marching, hand in electrified hand, because forever isn't a promise. It's the fight we choose every damn day.